Hey there, what is up guys? My name is Caleb. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a review of these of these Jim Green Stockman boots that I recently got resold. I'm going to go over the boot. I'm going to tell you guys about them. I'm going to show you what they looked like before I put this Vibram Christie on them. I'm going to tell you why I did that and how I think they look and my kind of update on them. Alright, so let's go right ahead into the video. So first things first, these are going to be from the brand Jim Green, which is a South African boot manufacturer. They're most famous for making the African Ranger boot. That's a really famous boot for them because it was designed specifically to help out the African Rangers, who are kind of like a mixture of like a park ranger and an anti-poaching task force. With these African Rangers, they work all over Africa to stop poaching and to maintain the unique wildlands throughout all of Africa. And a lot of them are significantly underfunded, and so Jim Green is a South African work boot brand that put in some work to come out with these boots that were both affordable yet met all the needs of the African Rangers, and so that's what they're really well known for. Recently they've become well known after Carl Morawski got some interaction with them. They've had a really big breakthrough in America. People like Rose Anvil did the Barefoot African Ranger collaboration with them, and when I was looking for a slip-on Chelsea boot, I was looking for different options, and I ended up following with these, which are the Jim Green Stockman. Here I'll post a photo of what they looked like originally. They came with a natural rubber lug sole. With a little bit of background, these are going to be a 2.2 millimeter full grain leather upper with a 1.6 millimeter, you can see here, softer calfskin liner on the inside. I bought these in a size US 11, and you can see here they have this wide toe box. I usually, on the Brannick, I am measuring between an 11E to double E in width, and I bought these in 11 and they fit great. I'm definitely interested in buying some other pairs of Jim Greens just because of how comfortable these are. You'll see here these have not a super tall height by consideration of a lot of different Chelsea boots. I'd say they're roughly about 6 inches at the tall parts and maybe about 5 inches down here. It's just enough to cover up your ankles. They have a thermoplastic, which is a type of synthetic heel counter, as well as a toe stiffener. You'll see here this toe stiffener for this kind of foot-shaped, natural shaped toe. They also have a steel shank inside to help keep them firm, which is great. So I really enjoyed these boots when I first got them. It takes some getting used to look at this really round toe, and with the kind of caramel color, this is called their fudge color, it looks really similar to me in the way that I think a lot of Timberland boots look, and so that was kind of a weird thing for me to acclimate to. It wasn't something I was used to. These are a tad more modern looking than a lot of my other boots and more informal, so that was something to get used to as well. I think for me they've been a great replacement, especially now that I have this sole on them, for when I would normally wear a pair of sneakers. These just slip right on. They're faster to put on than any of the sneakers I own, and they're also very comfortable. They're done with this 360-degree stitch down, you can see, which makes them easy to resole and very affordable. And so for me, my biggest issue was with the lug sole that comes with them. I found it to be, I wasn't a huge fan of the look. It was a tad too aggressive for my personal lifestyle and my aesthetic preferences. And I found that when I was walking around in my day-to-day life, that the giant lugs caught a lot of rocks inside of them. And then when I would walk into buildings or walk into places, it would scrape up on the floors. And they, for me, since I didn't have any need for such big lugs, they didn't really offer me any utility that made it worth dragging around rocks everywhere I went. And so because of that, I was thinking of different options for what I was going to replace the sole with. I really wanted to get one of those Vibram Traveler soles, like the ones that are on the Nyx and Carl Morawski collaboration. I'll put up a picture of those right here. But I wasn't able to find anyone online who sold them. And currently with where I'm currently living in between Santa Barbara and Pismo in California. There's very limited options for shoe repair. So I brought them to the only shoe repair place within about a 25 to 30 minute drive. And it took me a long time, to be honest. I'll just say in the Santa Maria Valley, there's only one shoe repair place, and they did not do a great job. I wouldn't recommend them. I'm not going to name their specific name, but It took a really, really long time, and it was clear that he did not really possess the ability to restitch these. I was also interested in swapping out this synthetic or leather board or whatever fiber board. I'm not entirely sure what the midsole is, in exchange for a veg tan leather midsole, and he pretty much said he was completely unable to do that, which to me, for a shoe repair / cobbling, seems like a pretty basic requirement, but I guess he specifically wasn't. So because of that, we kept the midsole. We just removed the glue and then re-glued this. Overall, I would say I'm not a huge fan of the quality. You can see when I hold these up, this boot, the Christie wedge kicks out a lot further than it does on this boot, and you can especially see that when I hold them like this. You can see how much more this one pops out when you're looking down on it. It's very visible that these were not sanded equally. But overall, as far as how well they're going to stay and how well they're going to stay together, I don't foresee there really being any huge issues. You know, Jim Green doesn't have the most fancy when it comes to finishing on their boots anyways, so I'm not expecting a ton. I'm really just expecting these as to be like daily beaters that I wear. I like the looks of a lot of R.M. Williams Chelsea boots, or the John Lofgren Chelsea boots, or even something like a Blundstone Chelsea boot. But for me, they all have those very narrow and restrictive looking toe boxes, and at this point, I'm really not interested in spending money on anything that's going to squish my toes. I've kind of decided to set a rule for myself that if they're not offering something specifically wide or with a actual anatomical shaped toe box, then I'm really not interested in buying, just because I am young enough that I think I can avoid any serious permanent damage to my feet. So I'm choosing to kind of forego some of the beautiful options that might be squishing my toes in exchange for the overall health of my feet. So this repair ended up costing me $95, which seems a little expensive, especially when you consider the fact that the finishing quality isn't that great. But unfortunately, I decided to be impatient and not look for someone who could really, really do exactly what I was looking for, and I was willing to settle, and so I kind of got what I was willing to wait for, I suppose. Overall, though, these boots come in just under $200, I believe, and I think that for what you're getting for these, it's a really, really great option. Jim Green makes this boot as well as another boot, which I'll post a picture of here, that they have a similar rubber wedge style sole, but it does have a heel on it. They actually are both done with different lasts, so that is worth taking into consideration. My understanding is that this boot has a lower but wider last, while the other boot has a taller but slightly narrower last. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how it was based on the research I did on those two different types of boots. The other boot that I can't recall the name of, their other Chelsea boot, also I think might only come in smooth leathers. And from what I've seen, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of a lot of Jim Green's smooth leathers. They're not the fanciest looking leathers, and so because of that, I think getting something like this, which is like a nubuck, or getting one of their rough out pairs, hides a lot of the imperfections a lot better. It's a lot harder to tell the difference between like a fancy rough out and a nice rough out. It's a lot easier to tell the difference between a fancy smooth leather and a nice smooth leather. So that can definitely be something worth taking into consideration as well. Overall, I would say that I can definitely recommend these boots, especially if you're here in America. You can choose to buy them through Amazon if you're interested. They sell a lot of them through Amazon, and they ship extremely quickly. I bought these with an Amazon gift card, so I don't even know if I ended up paying for them at all. I had a bunch of saved up Amazon gift cards, and so these might have been free if I recall correctly. I'm not 100% sure. But overall, Jim Green offers a great quality. If you're interested in getting into boots and you want something that's going to really provide you a lot of bang for your buck, and maybe you don't want to go the traditional Red Wing route, I think that Jim Green can be a great option for a lot of people. I personally prefer to wear these when I would normally wear a pair of sneakers, so usually with like a t-shirt, maybe a Henley like this, a pair of jeans, a flannel. Although with this style, when it had the lug sole, they really, really looked like work boots, and they really looked like kind of a pair of Timberland boots. So that's worth taking into consideration. Now with this wedge sole, I actually think it kind of makes them look nicer. It almost slims down the way the toe looks a little bit, and so I actually think they can be worn with slightly, not dressier, but I think they look more at home with like a button-up shirt, for example, like a chambray shirt or a flannel or something like that. I would also say that you want to make sure you're wearing your pants to where they're long enough to cover up most of the boot, because if you're trying to wear them really cropped high, I think it looks very silly when you can kind of see your sock or see the top of the boot with your pants. And as soon as you get into any position where you're not just standing straight up, if your pants aren't long enough, they're going to shoot up above the boot. you'll see your sock, you'll see your leg hair or whatever. And I think seeing the goring and the pull tabs in your socks whenever you're not just standing still looks kind of silly. So I would recommend maybe wearing your pants a tad longer with these. Recently, I've told you guys I'm not interested in really wearing my pants really cropped up high anymore. I've been liking to still cuff them, but allow them to kind of sit and get a break on all my different pairs of shoes. So that's been something worth thinking about as well. If you're looking for a little bit more insight into some different pairs of Jim Green boots, I would look at the Carl Morawski video on Jim Green boots. He has a couple of those. I would look into the Rose Anvil and the Iron Snail videos on the Jim Green boots. Those are great as well. But if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll make sure to get you guys with a video next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.